Let's rewind back to when I first walked on stage. What was going through your mind? Was it, Akash, funny name? Or maybe it was, oh look, an Indian kid, probably going to talk about quantum physics for half an hour. Perhaps you're shaking your head. I wasn't thinking anything, but you were. Whether you like it or not, as soon as you saw me, your brain went, oh, that's a something. It looks like this, it sounds like this, maybe it's this. Your brain created a giant list of assumptions about me within seconds. If this didn't happen, I would be deeply concerned because it might infer that you're not a human being. Some of the things your brain deduced about me were based on past experience. Maybe you've met an Indian before. Maybe you are Indian. Maybe, and this might be a stretch, but maybe you've met more than one teenager in your life. So over the years, your brain has taken these experiences and formulated stereotypes about them, which you are applying to me this very second. Now, you might be thinking, I'm stereotyping, that means I'm a terrible person, but that's not the case. Stereotyping is a natural process, and that is what I'm here to discuss today. A big problem that we have today is that not all of us realize that there is a difference between stereotyping and bigotry. A stereotype is an assumption about someone or something, and it is built from past and or current information. A stereotype is most like the gala apple on your left. It's completely natural, it's got nothing funky in it, it's harmless. Bigotry, on the other hand, is a poisoned apple. Bigotry occurs when someone takes a stereotype and adds things that are unjustifiable to it as fuel for hatred. Bigotry is often a result of this subconscious fear of the unknown. From bigotry stems a concept that we are all familiar with, which is discrimination. I mentioned before that some of the things that we stereotype about, everything we stereotype, it's all built from information. If that information is weighted or untrue, however, then we no longer have this tasty gala apple stereotype. Think about every terrorist attack we've seen on the media today. They've all been committed by Muslims. Now, this might lead me to believe that the majority of terrorist attacks, if not all of them, have to be committed by Muslims. However, statistics show that over the last 5 years in Europe, there have been over 1,000 terrorist attacks, of which 2% have been committed by Muslims. Similarly, in the US, only 6% of terrorist attacks are committed by Muslims. On the other hand, if some guy carrying a machine gun runs into my classroom screaming bloody murder, whether he's Muslim or not, it is safe to assume that he is not the substitute for the day. Do you see the conflict between the two assumptions? One is justifiable and the other is not. When we're using stereotypes, it is very important that we don't infer deeper than is practical, logical, and fair. Weighted stereotypes often lead to bigotry. And unfortunately, we have this thing called social media, which should be a platform for good. But it's become a platform for spreading bigotry and hatred. This picture I saw on Twitter the other day, this is an example of someone taking information and twisting it into something that it's not and inspiring hate from it. Here's an example that's a personal story that is not in the context of social media. I was walking home the other day when a couple of teens drove by, and they shouted something just a little nastier than, "Get out of our country, you terrorist!" Okay. What was painful about this assumption, this experience, was not the fact that I was a victim of their stupidity, or the fact that I was incorrectly being labeled as a Muslim. It's an ignorant assumption, yes, but not exactly harmful. What was disheartening, however, was the bigotry shown towards a group of people of which 0.009% are terrorists. Raw bigotry such as these examples is still so prominent in today's society, and it's only getting worse. Here's an example, however, of a justifiable stereotype. A gigantic dog is barreling towards me. His eyes are wide, his mouth is frothing, his teeth razor sharp. I'm smack dab in the middle of his path. Okay, I am by no means the smartest person in the world, but I probably have the common sense to move out of the way. So let's pretend, and I emphasize the word pretend, that I do a perfect backflip out of the way. The beast skids to a halt, turns, and gives me a big kiss on the cheek. Oh, okay. Let's play this back scene by scene. I see dog. Dog is big, looks scary, and is running towards me full speed. Common sense tells me that he's not coming to give me a Teletubby hug, so I move out of the way. Finally, dog goes against the stereotype by being friendly. Consider this. Was I bigoted in my assumption and my action? Stereotypes such as these are not unfair or bigoted. While they are incorrect in some cases, they are based off of common sense, and so it is bigoted to call them bigoted, ironically. Another vital element in this game is understanding and accepting other stereotypes of us. Say I own a little pharmacy in a remote village in India. No one here speaks a word of English. I just happen to move here from Pennsylvania. An American tourist walks into my shop, and he begins speaking like this. I have fever, need medicine. Hang on a minute, hang on. What is all of this? I know what a fever is. I know what medicine is. Does he really think that I don't speak English? Oh wait, yeah, of course he does, because I look like an Indian, and I'm living in a place where no one speaks English. This is a perfectly understandable assumption. So why am I getting so worked up about it? What's stopping me from simply replying, hey, dude, I speak English? If this man had walked into my shop, speaking as he normally does, one might assume that he's ignorant and arrogant, because he assumes that the rest of the world speaks the same way that he does. When people use stereotypes, they are not always trying to be malicious. However, our pride can sometimes cloud our vision, and that is what leads to misunderstandings. So it's pretty clear we all make stereotypes. It's part of what makes us human. Yes, we must be cautious when forming stereotypes. Bigots are bigots because they cannot honestly justify their stereotypes. And this is what we must listen for when others are speaking, when we are speaking. If we can use stereotypes the right way, instead of for bigotry, instead of for hatred, then we will truly unite as the human race, instead of just as individuals. This is why I urge you all to go home tonight and consider these two ideas. First of all, we must think before we react to stereotypes. If someone stereotypes you in an innocent mistake, respond with empathy. And second of all, now is the time to draw the line between bigotry and stereotyping. Every day, hateful and bigoted things are being posted on social media, and as I've recently experienced, being said to people's faces. While we must accept and understand stereotypes for what they are, we must also stand up to bigotry. If we fight for what is right, we will make the world a beautiful place to live in. And perhaps we will not live to see the day where everyone accepts one another as a fellow Homo sapien. But we must still fight for that day, for the good of our children and their children, and the future of the human race. And that is what I would want you to consider tonight. Thank you.